Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to start off by saying thank you guys for the support over the years. I've noticed my old videos are still getting tons of views and they're still very relevant and fixing people's problems. I want to make a new video to make it easier for everybody, okay? So my personal CSP settings here and AC video will be in the description. You're going to be looking for SCGmike Reliable with a matching SCGmike Reliable. The reason that these settings are labeled as reliable is these settings will provide you no graphical bugs within the game unless you're running temporal anti-aliasing at a certain time of day with modded cars from Forza Horizon. Nobody has fixed the problem of TAA from the Forza Horizon cars, and most cars that are modded come from there. So if you get a big box around your car in the rain or at a certain time of day in a shadow format, turn off temporal anti-aliasing while using that car at that time of day and that problem will go away. Everything else here is fixed up and reliable and working, okay? That's the main thing to get across. Now, let's say you get these settings and these settings are not good for you with your performance. Now, for an example, we need to all be on the same exact page. There are people with 1650s running these settings in single player, getting 90 FPS, and the game looks awesome. There are people with the same graphics card getting worse FPS by a long shot because they're not on the same page of optimizations. So how do we get there? How can we make it so 10 guys that all have 3070s or 1650s or 980s all get the same performance across their same card? We want the 10 guys with the 980s to get the same performance, and we want the 3080 guys to all get the same performance with their cards. You know what I'm saying? We want the performance to be comparable across everybody with the same graphics card as you have. So this is what we need to do. You go to my Discord, okay? This isn't something I made up for fun. This is what I have done with my years and years of experience with computers and years of experience with Assetto Corsa. You come into here and you make your life really, really easy by going to PC optimizations in my social community gaming Discord. Everything in here you need to do step by step, and then you can ignore the things that you don't understand how to do right now. If you can't figure something out, don't sit here all day trying to say turn off your antivirus, or even you don't want to do that while you play, skip it, right? If you can't figure out how to run rkill and delete a file, let me know. You know, we'll get around to it. This isn't stuff that you need to finish, but you need to do as most of this as you can, okay? And then your PC is going to be on the same page as my brain. When you ask for help, everything will be matched up. You say you've done all of this and everything is good to go, and you're going to have the best performance on your PC that you can get. So after you're done with that, you go to my video that you're watching now, you go to the description, you apply the SCGmike Reliable settings, and then we know that you can try the game out and you can load into the game and everything should be functioning correctly for graphical stuff. Now, if you don't get good performance with these settings, then you don't have to worry too much, because the rest of the video is going to be me showing you how to change these settings for yourself for better performance without introducing any graphical bugs and glitches into the game. Alright? So now that we're here, let's go ahead and just take a quick break. Make sure you did everything, double check it, make sure you're good to go, make sure you applied those settings and that they look like they match up. If everything on the left here is blocked off gray on the settings, everything should be good. So now let's say you're not getting good enough performance, okay? let's say you're running 1920 by 1080 at, I don't know, let's say 120 hertz like that, and you're not getting it, right? This is the only thing that you should really have to do to really help yourself out. You can turn down your anti-aliasing just a little bit. You can turn down some of the faces per frame, maybe go to 4 at 512 so it still looks good. You can turn down your render distance just a tiny little bit, maybe down to 1900 meters, because you have to realize all of your CSP lighting reflections, cloud reflection, car reflections, if you're rendering that in at like 500 or 1000 meters, you're going to see reflections popping up in front of you and changing consistently. You want to run your render distance as high as possible and just turn down your reflection resolution to make it a little less impactful on your performance. That's all you need to do. Now, another thing you want to note is, I don't care what performance you're getting, if you're having lighting glitches with CSP lights and they're loading in front of you and flickering and stuff like that, try turning your glare to maximum and putting on your post-process filter of choice and your overall quality to maximum. Even regardless of, you know, if you have a bad graphics card or not, we're going to try and make that work for now, right? And then another thing is, in your mirrors, you want to keep this up a little bit in the quality, because if you have lighting glitches in your mirrors, it's going to be because your mirror resolution isn't high enough quality and it's not picking up the post-processing of the CSP lights in good enough quality, okay? So that's how we're going to just kind of judge that for now, and we're going to run this instead and hope this one works. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as SCG reliable lower. Okay, so now we save that as the lower, and then here we're going to go with the lowest spec. This is, in my opinion, you know, some of the lowest spec that you should really run the game on if you have a dedicated graphics card. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go with some pretty low settings here. We're even going to turn off FXAA, and we're going to still stick with the maximum quality for this stuff, right? And we're going to just say, okay, that's good enough. We're going to change this one to lowest. And I'm going to share all of these with you guys, right? And if you need to, if you're really hurting, man, and you're running a really, really bad setup, go ahead and start just lowering these things even more. And you can get low. You could even disable post-processing and get even lower with it. You can turn this down. Your game is going to look terrible, man. But if you want it, you can go ahead and just call this one SCG Reliable Sad. And we're going to call that one sad just because I personally think that it's sad if we have to run the game like that. But, you know, it's an integrated graphics thing. This is still going to let you play the game. That's the main part, man. So all these settings are going to be in the description. Now we're going to go over to the CSP settings here, okay? And what we're going to do here is, if you're getting bad performance, the first thing you're going to try is the no dynamic shadow preset. So I'm going to go ahead and resave this as non-dynamic. So that means we're going to have no dynamic shadows on this preset. And that will help your performance a little bit too. Now the next thing we're going to do is, if you really are struggling with everything, we're not going to go tweak all the other stuff yet. I'll show you how in a sec. But maybe you're okay with not running extra effects. If you don't want to run extra effects, let's go ahead and get one of those for you guys too. And we're going to do no extra effects. So get that one if you want to try that one out, right? I don't want to run like that. So now let's talk about some other things we can do here if you're just getting some bad performance and you want to tweak a couple things that you're okay with not having off. Maybe you're okay not having rain. Maybe we can be okay without the brake disc effects. Maybe we're good without colorful shadowing. Let's go down a little further here to graphics adjustments. In graphics adjustments, what we can do is we can change the post-processing anti-aliasing from ultra high to medium, or we can completely disable it or change the different methods. I can't tell you how good or bad the different methods are, or how they'll affect how good or bad the game looks, or how it will run, but I can tell you disabled is obviously going to run better than having the newest anti-aliasing, right? So these are my settings. I'm still going to keep that on, but if you need to do something there, go ahead and change it right there. Oh, I messed up. Okay, so back in graphics adjustments, Another thing we can do if you're struggling really bad is you can go ahead and try and enable super resolution, and you can go over to quality and you can turn it down. And what that's going to do is render the game at a lower resolution. It's going to be downscaled and you're going to get better performance. Your game is going to look worse. Another thing you can do is you can turn down your render scale, and if you read right here, it'll tell you this option affects render, UI, and everything else. Good for the size of original UI elements and improving performance on high DPI screens. If you're using a laptop with a 4K monitor, set AC resolution in video settings to max, disable full screen, set this scale to 50%, and you'll get a full HD experience and a massive performance boost. So that's basically saying you can get your 4K to run full HD and it's going to look worse, but you're going to get better performance. So keep that in mind also while you're going through this. Now let's go down to particle effects. Another thing I do personally in particle effects is I take off the stuff that the game has to render when you crash. So for example, solid pieces of dirt and in collisions and such. I also will turn off my sparks. I'll keep soft particles on, I'll turn on new flames, and I'll adjust my smoke and my dust to be however I like it in the game. The more you add for effects and the more quantity and on-screen limit is, the more the game will affect your performance in a negative way. So you could turn these down, you could turn them off. Reflections effects, you should always just keep at default. Shadowed wheels is fine. Sorry, smart mirrors is basically fine for the most part. You can save a bit of performance by turning a custom render distance on like so, and turning down the slider on the right. Smart shadows, honestly it's really easy. All of these things, the higher is better, the lower the worse for visual appearance. Lower is better for performance and higher is worse for performance. Track adjustments, this one's up to you. You can turn these off. I prefer the game with them on, but you're more than welcome to come in here and turn them off. I have these enabled across all settings, I believe. And then we have weather effects, and what we can do here is we can increase cloud shadow resolution again to make the game look better at the cost of performance. We can force AI headlights on to make the performance worse, but having the AI headlights on all of the cars. You can do the same thing for the driver cars online with the people that you're playing with in game. You can also go ahead and if you hit use compatible sky shader and turn it off and you have a newer system, you might save some performance. That's another thing there. And a big thing here is we want to always have full resolution post-processing tweaks on. If we don't have full resolution, we are going to be greeted by some ugly dashboards, gauges, and we're going to have some broken things that don't look good. It's going to look like the anti-aliasing's not good enough on them, but really it's just going to be full post-processing resolution, which you enable there in weather effects. And after we've done all this, you should be able to come through with these settings, one of these sets of settings, and one of these sets of settings in here, and you should be able to take this information and just tweak the things that I showed you a little bit and stay away from everything else, and everything should always be good with your game. The other important thing to note, we are running PURE newest versions and CSP newest versions, and we don't use LCS in game personally. I am not using it, so if you do install all of these settings and you enable something with LCS and you notice at a certain time of day that something might not be correct, feel free to let me know and post in the Discord and the help chat, and I'll try and help you guys figure it out. But for the most part, I've taken care of all of the bugs for you. You don't have to worry about anything. And if you need reshade, if you need to figure something like that out, please check out one of my other videos where I talk about reshade, its performance, how to use it, how to use neck effects to kind of set up the GoPro look. I have those videos and a lot of information and post-process filters and settings on my Patreon, which are all free except for the newest ones. Have a good day, everybody. Take care and stay gaming.